she realized what happened, but she didn't really feel the pain. You can hear her screaming in there. It's like, my mom was crying, and I was just sitting there really quiet.
Can alcohol kill?
Sure. Yes, it can. I think so.
How?
By getting onto the influence of it and doing something that you wouldn't normally do in your right mind.
I don't know. I guess if you consume too much, probably, yeah.
You can never take too much.
Jimmy Whiffen went out drinking one night with 2 adults. He downed a bottle of tequila and some beers in half an hour. His blood alcohol level was more than 6 times the legal limit for drinking and driving. Jimmy Whiffen died of alcohol poisoning. He was only 15.
Alcohol can kill because you can spill your drink and then you lose sight of the road, you know?
Here, have some. Clutch, man. You know I don't like it. Man, you're worse than my mother. Well, we're going to her party. I don't think we should. Well, if you don't want to go, there's the door. You can walk home.
Clutch, give me the keys, all right?
Do you drink and drive?
No, I don't drive. But I've been in the car with someone that was drinking and driving, and it was really scary. They were on the wrong side of the road, and they had music on, and they were steering the wheel to the music.
It's not worth it. I mean, you just drive one night drunk, and they pull your license like that, and you're out of a job. You can't pick up the bass, man. You go to movies and nothing.
my friend Mike, all his friends were drinking, and they were driving, and they smashed into the back of a car. It was really cool.
7.5 years ago, we were on our way, my mom and I, and my little sister Jennifer, to get some chicken to bring home for the family. On a Friday night, you know, regular Friday night out. It was about 10 o'clock, and we went and got the chicken, and we were chatting and having, you know, just a talk and stuff. And on the way home, my mom and I passed an accident on the highway, and it was a really bad accident. I said, oh my God, Mom, you know, holy, I wonder what happened to them, and I hope that never happens to us. And 20 minutes later, lo and behold, a drunk driver came up on our side of the road over a hill and hit our car. And as a result, my mom was killed, and I was left in a wheelchair.
Has it made it more difficult having an identical twin who is a mirror image of yourself?
I think during the really low times when you're really hurting and you're really angry, it's worse to have that mirrored image, especially for Missy, who when she feels really down and out about her wheelchair, to look at me walking is really hard for her. One instance, I remember going to the hospital. When the accident first happened, Missy used to kick me out of her room every day, and I couldn't figure out why, you know? And she was so angry with the whole situation that I was her image, that it was hard for me to be there with her while she was trying to heal. So much goes through my mind when I think about the driver of the other car that night. At first, when I first found out I was hurt, when I first found out that why I was in a wheelchair, why I couldn't walk, was a drunk driver, I was like, felt really sad for the person. Because I thought, and when my mom was dead, I felt really sad because I didn't know how I would deal with something like that. How would I deal with the fact that I killed a woman and I put a young girl in a wheelchair? But there's anger and there's sadness and there's so much built in, so much inside of me that, because there's days when I'm sad and I know I can't get up to go run and get a drink, and I know that it was that drunk driver and I get really mad, but then there's days when I think, oh, I wouldn't want to be that person.
I don't know how to describe the feeling. I was crying. I felt like my whole world was caving in around me. It was the worst I've ever felt in my life.
The party that you were at before the accident.
Yes.
You know, what was the feeling at the party? You know, with everybody and yourself and your friends and everything. What was it all like?
Well, a lot of the people there hadn't seen each other in months, so you know, it was a big drink fest. Everybody was trying to drink as much as possible and prove that they could do it, you know, and
yeah.
There was a couple older guys there, so you're trying to show them that I can do this too, just as well as you can. About 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, I was down at the beach, and a couple of the guys that were with me came down to the beach, and they said, you know, let's go, everybody's getting tired, it's time to leave.
Was there any discussion on who should drive?
No, there wasn't. So we just, didn't think about it at all. Drinking and driving wasn't something that would happen to us. And so we hopped in the car and took off, and we didn't even make it about halfway, I guess. The last thing I remember is coming down the hill, and then going into the corner, and that's it. I don't know if I blocked it out on purpose or what, but I guess I blacked out for a couple minutes, and I woke up a minute or two after the accident happened. I was still in the driver's seat. I hadn't been wearing my seat belt, but I guess the steering wheel had held me there. It was broken into a bunch of pieces. But Mark, who was in the passenger seat in the front, he was sort of sitting up on the console, half in, half out of the windshield. It was obvious that he was dead. And I walked around to the back, and the back door of the Jeep comes up. It had ripped halfway off, and one of the guys was sort of hanging out the back of the Jeep. He had blood coming out of his ears and his eyes. And he was also dead. And the other guy who has the head injuries, he was about 10 feet back behind the Jeep, just sitting propped up in the ditch.
I wouldn't drink and drive personally, but I have drove like lots of times with people who drink and drive. Like, I'm just worried about getting impaired, but I'm not worried about who takes me home when I'm half cut already.
I felt completely lost. I didn't know what was happening. There was no way I could change what happened. I just stood there. I didn't know what to do. Somebody had already gone for help, and it was hard to look at the guys, knowing that two of them were dead.
What if they themselves are intoxicated? Would you let them drive?
Yeah, if they were really, really bad, I would say not to, but I just think, well, if they get in trouble, it's their problem. As long as I'm not doing it, I don't care.
Alcohol can kill. It's the #1 killer of Canadian teens every year. Last year, 2,500 Canadians were killed by impaired drivers, and over 100,000 were seriously injured or maimed in alcohol-related accidents.
I didn't want to drive, but I had to, there was no way of getting home after I finished drinking, so I had to drive.
Have you ever been in a car with somebody that was drinking and driving?
I was in a car with a drunk person, but I didn't let them drive. I drove instead.
Clutch, give me the keys, all right?
I can drive, man.
Clutch, man, the keys. I'll take you to Lucy's, all right? Just give me the keys.
You're hungry. It is very hard to stay clean. When I feel depressed, I really think, well, if I just have one little drink, I'll feel better. And then I think, no, that's not going to help. That's just, you're not really going to feel better. It's just going to be a false sense of security. You take it one day at a time, and if you don't drink that day, then you thank yourself. You say, well, that's good. I've done it for a day, and tomorrow's another day, and I'll worry about it when it gets here.
Like when you're drinking, you can't do anything, right? You got your mind on the bottle you're holding in your hand. But when you're not drinking, you got your mind on other things. Like I got my mind on my car and my bike all the time, or my drawing.
You're doing all this instead of the drinking now, right?
Yeah, probably would have had a beer last night if I didn't do that.
It's a lot more creative.
Yeah, it's better than passing out laying on the floor. Everybody else that's not forcing it on you. It's you yourself. You make your own decisions for your own life, not anybody else. It's your own decision the way you want to run your life.
The Spirited Native Youth Council, to me, is to try to get youth to be substance-free and try to be more or less a support group among young people for us to do activities that don't pertain to any alcohol or drugs.
Gives them an opportunity also to learn more about their roots and their culture. And by doing that, that helps with self-esteem and self-worth. I'd like to ask you to be with us, and I pray for our brothers and sisters around the Yukon and around the world who are suffering from alcohol and drugs. And I pray that He'll be with us and give us the strength to take care of ourselves in order to help others. Thank you for this day.
SAD is Students Against Drinking and Driving. It's a group that informs students and the community about the dangers of drinking and driving and what can happen if people drink and drive. And we try and change people's attitudes about drinking and driving.
Our mandate, if I may say it as that, was to prevent injury and save lives. That was our entire goal. And if we saved one life by speaking and by giving films and by having poster contests or any sort of activities within the school, we reached our goal.
I don't know. I think about it and I wish that it couldn't have happened. I wish that I could change it. I know there's no way I can. I know it'll never happen again. I would never drink and drive again.
Alcohol is an increasing problem with teenagers.